Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to Off the Score, a music podcast
Yes.
talking about music. My name is George. We have Darren.
Yep.
We have Janice.
Hello.
And we have Ollie.
Hello.
Well, excellent. So this week,
Hello.
thanks for that, Darren. This week we have Tristan, the Prelude to Act 1, a 4.5-hour opera by Wagner, short by his standards. If you haven't already, go and listen. It's a great piece of music. Where should we start? Anyone?
Should we talk about general characteristics first?
Or do we want to first hear what the Tristan chord is?
Go on.
We need a bit of background on the Tristan chord, I think. What is the Tristan chord?
Here is the Tristan chord. If you can hear that. And so,
magnificent.
Yeah. And so what we know from the Tristan chord is it's the first of the many chords in Tristan and Isolde, and comprises F, B, D sharp, and G sharp.
Yes, exactly. And of course, it takes its name from Tristan, the lead male character in this, and it's all about love. This opera, as most are. And
Shall we highlight the chord?
Shall we? We could do that. Well, Darren, are you highlighting the chord? It comes from the woodwinds, and so this chord sort of holds through all 4.5 hours of the piece, and it eventually resolves towards the end. In one of
Although you have to wait a long time.
You have to wait about 4 hours for it to resolve.
Yeah. There's a fake out in the second act where everything's building up to the resolution, but then you get a Requiem Tristan or something like that.
Yes, exactly. And then it goes into a massive chord.
Yeah.
One of those horrible, heart-wrenching moments. I think that is the moment where 3 conductors have died conducting this.
Quite an intense piece of music.
Conductors have died. Right.
Intense.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the Tristan chord sorted.
So what do we think of this opening prelude?
Darren?
Wait, we haven't actually covered the Tristan chord yet. We know, like, why is it such an infamous chord, and what's so special about it?
It feels so mysterious.
What to begin with, what type of chord is it? It comprises of a minor third, diminished fifth, and minor seventh to give us
a half diminished chord.
Yes, that's right, a half diminished seventh chord.
I think you'll find, just to be technical about this, Janice, it's an augmented sixth, not a diminished seventh, because it's the D sharp above F, not the E flat.
And that's how it is, really.
Yeah, so
it's just how it is.
This half diminished, which gives you both a major and minor feel, and it puts you
on edge,
somewhere and nowhere and everywhere at the same time.
Yeah, and it also carries the qualities of a leitmotif. With Tristan, of course.
Definitely.
Exactly, it's the big sort of love.
And just for clarity's sake, a leitmotif is something that introduces a character, that sort of follows a character around and introduces them when they walk on stage.
Yeah, that's right. Like, that's used a lot in Star Wars and the music of John Williams.
Hey, Star Wars!
We've got our Vader tunes and stuff like that.
Sorry, how have we already got onto Star Wars? This is quite something.
Yes, it's a very smooth segue.
Do we want to say something about the cello part? Because obviously this is sort of the bridging in between.
Darren, do you want to say something about that?
Not particularly right now.
Well, fair enough.
You did make a good observation, George, about the cello part, I believe.
Well, yeah.
Well, isn't that this note? And was it this
No.
note? I can't read tenor clef.
I don't think we're recording the screen, so.
Oh, we can record this. We are recording the screen actually. But anyway,
Okay.
those who can't see the screen, it's the highest note in each of the cello phrases are F, G sharp, and B respectively, which of course are 3 of the 4 notes in the Tristan chord.
Just ignoring the D sharp, which needs to finish the chord.
Yes, exactly. Quite. What else? Where do people want to go from here?
Should we just talk about the general feel of the prelude?
Yeah.
Because I think
Sure, why not?
What do you want to say, Ollie?
it kind of feels throughout the whole thing like it's just evolving and rolling forward. But then there's kind of, you've got the strings playing this very kind of, you could almost say crying violins, like very dark, somber. And then the flutes and the woodwind kind of offer this temporary respite, kind of a lighter, but they're always kind of interweaving with one another.
Yeah, it is interesting that, especially as you say the woodwinds play a lighter, and it's certainly a sort of lighter theme, and it's certainly it's much thinner texture in the woodwinds, but yeah, the woodwinds always carry the Tristan chord.
Yeah.
Which I think is particularly interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because just to pick up on what Ollie said about that rolling feeling throughout the prelude, we know from our contextual knowledge that Act 1 is about Tristan on a ship, like crossing the sea from Ireland to Cornwall. And so you definitely get that feel of rolling and surging waves throughout.
Definitely.
Absolutely, and it never quite reaches where you want it to go.
Yeah, it's always moving forward, but it never feels like it's reached a satisfying place.
Yeah, you get those build-ups and then sudden payoffs, and yeah.
Because I think that's one of the great examples of that never quite reaching where you want it to do. Miriam, if you could scroll on to page 8, that'd be fabulous. In that cello part, in the second system, hang on, can I annotate?
You can.
There, oh yes, here. This phrase in the second system, in the cellos, which repeats often, it's got that 7th in from the C to the B flat. And it's one of the most unstable intervals because you want it to go the full octave, but it never quite gets there. And he repeats that throughout the prelude, and I assume the rest of the opera as well. I think that's really powerful.
It's a really interesting piece of music.
Mm.
Would we all argue that the prelude is?
Are there any cadences throughout?
In the first act with the opera singers?
Could you repeat that, Ollie?
I believe that the prelude is definitely more enjoyable than once the opera singers enter.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's agreement there.
Well, I sort of feel that way.
Yeah. Well,
the prelude is essentially a way of foreshadowing all that is about to come. And so it's like other great artistic works. Like in literature, you'll have these motifs interspersed and spread out, and it'll all be like building up for the eventual payoffs.
It sets up this kind of dark feel very, very quickly. You kind of know that from the very first 2 bars.
Yeah, I think that's dark, but you can always see light at the end of the tunnel. That horrible cliche. You can always see that it's going to do something. It just doesn't do it.
What did you say about kind of the because it's very kind of legato at the start, but it almost feels sarcastic in a weird way.
How do you mean?
Just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like it comes back to the idea of kind of rolling.
Yeah.
And kind of, I don't know how to describe it.
There's something there. There's something quite sort of I know, repetitive jibing about it. Like it's
Yeah.
just sort of edging away at you.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Well,
Dude, what do
see,
you think about? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Darren, you said something about cadences.
Well, there's no perfect cadences, are there? There are. There must be.
It doesn't feel like there are, but then it seems
I
like
think there are.
What is the key?
Ha! That's a cracking question.
What is actually the key?
The key signature.
No, what feels like the
Sorry,
tonic note?
I just quickly need to mute myself. I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, so I think there are like perfect cadences, but it's not the perfect cadence we want.
Yeah,
Which, to resolve Tristan.
exactly. And
Obviously, avoiding the M word, we move through different keys. Possibly, one would say modulating.
never.
We don't use those words. Yeah. So we do get cadences in those keys, but not in our bass key, which I'm sure we're about to work out.
Hello, sorry, I'm back.
Oh, hello. So yeah, we're just trying to decide what is the tonic note in Tristan.
Maybe he doesn't really want you to have one. Like, obviously there is one, but just the way the whole thing is written, it's almost like having a tonic note is a point of stability, and Wagner doesn't want anyone to feel any stability.
Was there like an imperfect cadence around here somewhere?
Page 10. Well,
Yeah.
I have.
Sorry.
Problem is, I just have no idea where to start with any of this.
Well, we can see a lot of chromaticism, and that's a motif I think recurs quite frequently.
Yeah. Lots of semitone movement.
Yeah. I think that also links into the kind of idea and atmosphere of waves being created throughout.
Well,
Also, the
you know, it
common
starts.
crescendos and diminuendos. Sorry.
It starts quite quiet and broken up, but then like everything sort of like joins fluently into each other afterwards, after this big pause.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Actually, there's much more of a continuous body of music after that, especially when you get to page 10 in Bellabend. From there, it gets much.
Yeah, everything's more.
I guess the texture gets significantly thicker as progress.
Until we get towards the end where it starts building back down again.
Yeah,
That's a good point there, where the texture thickens over time, because it's really quite noticeable.
Yeah. And then as soon as you hit those few bars before it goes into the main part of Act 1, you see Wagner's like written in the thinning out of the instruments, and so once you've hit that climax, you begin to peter out.
Yeah, exactly. And then in one of the great moments, the first scene, the opening is just
Tristan alone
singing on his own without any accompaniment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's
a very kind of desolate feel to it.
Yeah, he's shown the full instrumental forces that he can demonstrate so easily.
And I think what's really interesting in this is the way in which the climax is built up. So if I play something, just give me a second. No. Yeah, that kind of like rising semitone sequence.
Oh, absolutely.
A characteristic way of just building up the climax.
I have to say that's probably best demonstrated if Dean, you could scroll on to page 13, and then just go through there. Yeah, just the page after that. Oh,
Yeah.
one more. There we go. And then you've
Mhm.
got, if you look in the violin parts, you've got these sort of great soaring scales that slowly get higher to an A, to a B, to a C sharp, to a D, and it keeps going. And it's one of those magical moments in this.
There's one point with these scales that kind of build up and then reach a very kind of bombastic chord.
It's huge. It's huge. It's
Do they
page 18.
do they relate to the Tristan chord? These like massive chords at the top.
Yes, they do. Spot on. The woodwind throughout this section, where you've got the strings soaring up to this, well, hopeful conclusion. The woodwinds keep trying to put down the original Tristan chord,
Mhm.
and then eventually on page 18.
And then it's like everything's like meshed together at the end.
Yeah, and then page 18, you have this huge fortissimo, and then that is the huge statement of the Tristan.
It just feels like everything's just come back.
Yeah, because leading up to that moment, it seems like once the violins hit that top note, they don't stay on it; they back away. But it's at this point where you hit that massive fortissimo where you really hear it ringing out.
It almost feels as close to a resolution as you get in this.
Yeah, exactly. He's teasing us.
Mhm.
And then, you know, Tristan comes back at the end. Tristan
Yeah,
chord.
Tristan does make
Yeah.
his proud return,
Bless Tristan. And then he keeps.
and then the opera singer comes in.
You have a better against opera singers, Ollie.
Richard here just like teases us throughout this whole prelude, doesn't he?
Oh, right. It's great. With sevenths, with diminished, with
Yeah.
well, it's just that leading up to the fortissimo. You think it's going to resolve, and it could resolve, and it just doesn't, because he's horrible like that, and he makes us wait.
If you scroll to page 9, you can see examples of this, like in the woodwind parts, like here, it's like it rises upwards, but then he just like has that minor third drop to the semitone step up. So it's like he's leading us on, but then he like backs off.
Yeah, that happens both in the.
You can see it, sequentially.
That's kind of the general gist we're getting from everything here. It's just he's teasing the audience and offering a glimpse at what's going to happen later, but never really coming to any satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, and
but
I
just
think
building up a somber
that's
feel.
the way in which you can see that music is like other art forms. That you're able to create long-lasting motifs like that.
Yeah, exactly. This is the probably all-time classic conflict resolution.
Yeah,
he's created conflict within the story, which is I think it's illegal or certainly unpermissible love.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done exactly the same in the music with the Tristan chord, because fundamentally we don't like the Tristan chord to listen to, especially when it doesn't resolve.
Yeah. I think that's the classic story that being used here, like Romeo and Juliet, like all the other love stories. This kind of like forbidden love, and then you've got the tension and the conflict surrounding it.
Bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more comments?
Oh, I mean,
I think that's it.
About this for days, couldn't we?
Well, we want to keep it concise. So, you know.
It's so much. You haven't said much. Do you want to say anything else?
I haven't really got much to say, to be honest.
That is really.
I'm sure we're only scratching the surface here. But
we are definitely
we can
only
save
scratching
it
the
for
surface.
another time.
Exactly. Expect Tristan part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 27.
Well,
Coming very soon.
As part of our trilogy of 27 episodes series.
Although we might need to avoid the bits with the opera singers. Sorry.
well, there's always the prelude to Act 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Darren's the expert on that.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
That's been rather fun.
And that
All right
is
then.
the score.
Should we upload
for-
every Saturday then?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, join us next Saturday.
It's a Friday today.
Yeah, but it's going to be uploaded on Saturday.
Are we going to continue throughout the Easter holidays then?
I think we should.
Sure,
Oh,
why not?
why not?
Why? Absolutely not.
See you for Tristan part 6 next Saturday.
See you later.
Righty. Well, it's been wonderful.
It has been wonderful.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Unless anyone
See
wants
you
to say
later.
anything else? Aside from adorning Tristan with love hearts. Alrighty, ta-ra.
Ta-ra.